YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with our updated NFL power rankings heading into week 8 of the season. We update these every Tuesday morning. It's been a very strange year, maybe the strangest of all time. So we got some movement in these power rankings here. So excited to keep updating these every week. We have weekly picks, score predictions, and a lot more. Some trade deadline videos out, more on the way. So join us, like, subscribe, turn notifications on, follow us on Twitter for news, rumors, updates. We saw a trade go down yesterday. We were talking about it. My thoughts on it instantly. James Robinson to the Jets. Picks League, if you want to join that. If you're interested in any of our sponsors, GLD Shop, Liquid IV. See, I'm rocking the GLD Shop Chiefs chain. All the links that you're looking for pinned in the comment section there. We got code GOAT on both of those sites. Week 8 power ranks, the Lions find themselves at the bottom. They play a tough team in the Cowboys. Maybe that game was a little closer than the score showed, but at the same time, they just couldn't put the ball in the end zone, which is the issue, and they're down 3 spots. So the Lions are kind of on a streak of disappointment, really. I mean, the worst thing about it for them is at least they had like offense going at one point where it's like they're losing, but I feel like the Lions are tough to play because they're so explosive on offense. But lately, they got nothing going for them. So, I mean, in that Patriots loss looks even worse at this point. So, the Lions got to figure something out. They're at the bottom here. Texans going to go on one spot. They end up losing by 18 to the Raiders. They did kind of put up a fight during a portion of that game. There was a portion where they were winning, in that game. And they have decent moments on both sides of the ball, but they're struggling right now, but it's kind of where they put themselves. It's not really a surprise here for the Texans. So they're at 31. 30, the Steelers down 3 spots. They had a shot to win that game, if it wasn't for the turnovers, but they had a shot to beat the Dolphins on Sunday Night Football. They couldn't put it together. They're still limited by quarterback play, and it's main reason they're down 3 spots where they lost, but a lot of these teams down at the bottom have been winning, actually. There's teams that are kind of finding ways to win. I know Steelers won last week, but there's some teams this week, they're fresh off a win there, had to move up. Panthers are one of those teams. They're up 3 spots. They were 32, and they not only they beat the Bucs, they gave it to them pretty good there. They beat them 21-3. They played outstanding on defense, absolutely outstanding, and they figured some things out on offense. They were able to run the ball pretty effectively with Foreman and Hubbard, and then they actually hit some explosive plays down the field. Looked good to see P.J. Walker connecting with DJ Moore. Good to see DJ Moore get going. So Panthers showed some good things there. Will this continue? We'll see. Do they want it to continue? That's the big question there. Broncos down 2 spots. Close loss against the Jets. It's an assumption. I believe if Russell Wilson played, they would have won that game. But that's not what happened. They lost at the end of the day. So really no exceptions. It's how we do things here. But I love the Broncos defense, so it's so tough to see them down here because I love that defense, but the offense has just been one of the worst in football. Just nothing going for it. But they'll play the Jags in London this week. Winnable game for both teams, probably a defensive game, so we'll see if the Broncos can snap out of it here. They're down at 28, been one of the more disappointing teams on the year. Browns down 3 spots to 27, another winnable game, but they consistently cannot execute in the final moments. They consistently cannot close out games, so this is where they belong at this point. We can trust that they won't be able to close out close games at this point, so at least with Brissett. And that's kind of what Brissett's been known for. I've talked about it like in the past, like decent experience, decent play, but can he close out games in the past on some solid teams? And no, he hasn't. So, and the Browns defense even stepped up this game, I thought. They had some trouble with Gus Edwards, but they stepped up compared to how they've been playing, and they still can't find a way to pull it off here. So it's like the offense is starting to maybe go down a little bit because they're pretty explosive early, and then the defense is maybe starting a little bit to go up there. I mean, they didn't play too well against the Patriots last week, but yeah, so they can't really get anybody on the same page here, and they probably aren't running Nick Chubb enough. They don't want to overdo it, but it's been very effective. They're 27th right now. Jags down 4 spots, 26. The Jags have outplayed some teams that they've lost to, but they can kind of like the Browns, like they consistently aren't able to close out games, so that's kind of their identity. That's their label, so they belong down here. They've played well enough in games to be better than this, but they just haven't been able to close. They outplayed. If you watch that game, they outplayed the Giants in that game. They outplayed them most of the game. Or the Giants were able to move the ball at the end of the game to kind of control clock and things like that. But Jags moved the ball well enough to score maybe 31 points instead of 17. So that is just unfortunate that they can't execute, they can't figure things out. Needed to run the ball more, that's for sure. ETN was having the day. They trade James Robinson, which they didn't use him in that last game. So we'll see what happens. I'm kind of excited for ETN going forward. He can't lose the ball. That fumble was pretty brutal, but still had a good game. Next, the Bears. What a performance by the Chicago Bears last night in New England on Monday Night Football. I mean, what offense was that? I mean, it was ridiculous. So the Bears, for that win, go up 6 spots. I was thinking the Bears moving up more just because I'm so excited about that win. It was such a dominant, good win. But I don't want to go too crazy, base things off one game, because what was happening just before that also recently, they were looking like arguably the worst team in football, or one of the worst. So that still plays a factor as well. So I couldn't get carried away here because it's one game, but it was one very impressive game. That's why they're up 6 spots. And we'll see if they can feed off that. Look like some different things, kind of getting Fields to the outside, running him in space, more QB sneaks to get the snap go, obviously things like that. Outside runs look pretty good, just getting the ball outside, and they were able to game plan. It looked like against a Patriots defense, which has been a solid defense. And the Bears defense themselves, they were playmakers out there. So that was a surprising and a very impressive win. Let's see if they can kind of put things together. Tough task against the Cowboys this week, but there's some games on the schedule that's like, all right, if they can play like that against the Patriots, they can do it against the Dolphins maybe, who's next, the Lions after that. So Bears are maybe a team to watch here. While the rest of the NFC North minus Minnesota is struggling, it's definitely interesting to watch. So we'll see. Saints down 3 spots, 24. It's a tough one because they move the ball pretty damn well, and the Saints are really beat up. And they move the ball very well. They just turned it over at the worst times. Like there was a stretch of that game against the Cardinals where they outplayed them, for a good amount. But even at times when they were losing, it felt like they outplayed them. But they got to put it together. It's weird seeing them at 2-5. Maybe slightly better than what the record shows, but they have been beat up. But let's see if they can figure it out, put it together. Raiders game should be big this week. Saints versus Raiders. It could go either way. So Saints are down 3 spots. Buccaneers, cannot believe we're looking at the Buccaneers logo next to 23 here. Never, ever would have guessed it going into this year. They're down 6 spots. Another disappointing loss. They're still at the top of their division, but the disappointing loss to Carolina Panthers, lost to the Steelers last week, the Panthers this week. They play the Ravens on Thursday Night Football this week. They can't do anything really at this point. There's not much going for them on either side of the ball. The defense is constantly on the field because of the offense, but it's weird to see because they're just not clicking. It's just not, a lot of things are just not right. Also weird seeing the Packers down here. Never would have guessed that either, but they're putting together a losing streak. They're losing games they should win. Really all the ones they're losing they should win, but they can't figure it out. They're another team that's really not playing that well on, maybe not quite as bad as the Bucs, but they're not playing well on either side of the ball, really. I still like their running game. It wasn't good last week, but they abandoned it too early, so we can't really judge that. Their defense is constantly on the field, so it's tough on them, and they make some splash plays here and there. See Devondre Campbell getting a pick 6, but so the defense in no way is bad. It definitely in no way, but it's we expect to be maybe top 3, top 5, somewhere around there. So it's been a little underwhelming. It's weird to see the Packers and the Bucs are pretty much in the same boat. It's weird that it had a thriller, not really high scoring, but it came down to the last second when they played each other, and the Packers squeaked by the Bucs in that game, and it kind of makes sense at this point. Like they're kind of almost the same team right now. It's weird to see. This has been the strangest year of all time. It has to be, at least since I've been doing this. Patriots, that was a disappointing game last night. They're down a whopping 12 spots to 21. Just getting dominated by the Chicago Bears, who were at 31 before this week's power rankings. They were really struggling. Look like maybe the worst offense in football, and you expect the Belichick defense to be able to handle business, but they couldn't really do much of anything. And people will say the Patriots always struggle with running quarterbacks. Yeah, sure, and that could open up some other things for offenses, but there's also other factors in this that had nothing to do with the running quarterback. They struggle to tackle running backs. Like tackling was a major issue. Guys were getting Bears receivers. Think about the Bears receivers were getting separation pretty easily against the Patriots. The punting game was off. They could not punt. They couldn't block in this game. They're questioning themselves with the quarterback situation. So overall, I mean, even on the coaching staff, the play, it was extremely messy. And you're deserving of moving down a lot for that. And then you factor in who you played, the Bears just getting dominated at home Monday night, put all that together. Yeah, they're going to move down quite a bit there. They're going to move down quite a bit. And, now, I mean, they were looking pretty good before this last game, but now, looking at who they beat, the Lions, the Browns, I think we all were guilty of kind of giving the Patriots credit for losing. It sounds ridiculous now, losing to the Packers. That doesn't look as good now. Maybe, it looks like you should be able to beat the Packers. And then there's a lot of people that I see in the comments of these videos that say, they want to base things off head-to-head, and you see the Packers did beat the Patriots. They're below them. But my response always those people is there's been more than one game. There's 32 teams. We're in week 8. How many games has there been? We're basing it off of all that. The Packers have put together a bit of a losing streak. So, and the Patriots were looking pretty solid before this Bears game. But that was a brutal one. That was a very brutal one against Chicago Bears there on Monday Night Football. 20, the Commanders are starting to heat up. They're up 8 spots. They beat the Packers. Maybe the Bears win's looking a little better. That was still a sloppy game a week ago. But I'd say the Commanders' defense, how about their defense? It's really improving. Is it solid? It might be good because it looked like it was really bad earlier in the year. But they've been playing some pretty good football on defense, and they had some clutch plays on offense, which they have not been able to do in some time. With Heineke leading the way there, you see McLaurin. It's good to see McLaurin have a big game as well. So the Commanders are up 8 spots as they put together a winning streak, and a lot of teams are losing. Moving down below them here. Falcons stayed put. Yeah, they got beat up pretty good by the Bengals, but just a week ago they beat up the 49ers, which is a pretty good win to have on a resume. They've been better than expected. A lot of teams are losing around them as well and are way more disappointing, putting together a losing streak. So there was mainly because what's going on around them, but they're also holding on to that Niners win, which is very recent as well, which plays a factor in these power rankings. So I didn't really feel the need to move the Falcons this week. 18, the Raiders going to go up 7. The Raiders are a much better team in their record, much, much better. We saw it in the Chiefs game. They lost that game, but they put some good things together. They were kind of adjusting, and then they had the bye week, and then there was moments throughout the Texans game where it's like, this is a little sketchy, but they put it together. They put up 38 points. And what I really like about the Raiders' offense is tough. That's a tough offense to deal with. I mean, they can beat you with the pass, downfield, underneath. They can beat you with the run. Josh Jacobs has been ridiculous so far this year. So that is a tough offense. So they can win with their offense alone instead of add a pick 6 in this game so defense can make plays. They'll go up some yards. But they got pass rush. They can make some splash plays there. So the Raiders are heading in the right direction. They play the Saints this week. Either team could win that game, but Raiders up 7 spots to 18 there. Cardinals going to go up 6 spots, 17. The Cardinals went back and forth. But it's it's a good win against the Saints. There was a portion of that game where they did feel like they were getting outplayed. The pick 6s definitely helped them, but they went out there and got some pick 6s. But at the same time, defense was, didn't look as good as they normally do. They were allowing the Saints to move the ball, but then something clicked. They got some things going on offense. They were getting Hopkins going. Murray was getting some things going. Eno Benjamin, Keontae Ingram, these guys were getting things going. So maybe they figured something out to play the Vikings this week, which is a game I really think could go either way. So the Cardinals are up 6 spots. It's kind of like they beat themselves sometimes on offense, so they can't really let that happen. But up 6 spots to 17. Colts only go down 1 spot. It was a little messy because they couldn't do anything on offense. Matt Ryan gave the Titans a touchdown on offense, pick 6 by Andrew Adams. He had another bad pick. They had to make that quarterback change with Sam Ehlinger. We'll see how that goes. I think it could improve the run game, but other than that, to be determined. But at the same time, even though it was very disappointing on offense, they played really good defense. The Titans didn't score a touchdown on offense once. Titans have been a tough team on fire as well, so we're not going to punish the Colts. At the same time, a lot of other teams are losing in worse fashion, so didn't really see the reason to punish the Colts too much this week, and we'll see how the Ehlinger experiment works out here. 15's going to be the Niners, down 4 spots. A tough one against the Chiefs. Felt like for a little bit they could have had that one, or there was times where they looked like they were going to fight back, but no, they got 44 points, which is disappointing on for the 49ers. They need to get healthy, though, and then they can play better. Still believe they're a pretty solid team, but they got to start playing like they got to start winning games here, though. That's the issue. So they're down 4 spots to 15. Rams had a bye. They stayed put. There's times where teams could move up or down on the bye just based on what other teams around them are doing, but they end up staying put at 14. Some other teams moving up. You see teams drop below them, but the Niners and the Patriots, but other teams moving ahead of them here. 13, the Chargers down 6 spots. Disappointing game against the Seahawks. They just got completely outplayed. They got dominated by the Seattle Seahawks in that game. They just still can't stop the run. You can't win big time games when you can't stop the run. It's just the easiest way for teams to beat you. So it's tough, and they give up too many explosive plays. They have too many injuries. They're a little inconsistent on offense. It doesn't help with the injuries as well, but they're down 6 spots, number 13. It's tough. Maybe Keenan Allen's coming back now, kind of getting more involved, but other injuries like Mike Williams, J.C. Jackson on defense. So we'll see what happens moving forward. Dolphins up 4 spots, back on the winning side. Weird game because they started off like this was a dominant team. Like, okay, the Dolphins, when they're with Tua, it's ridiculous. They're really good. But then all of a sudden it completely slowed down and off the script. And maybe they're a little fortunate to win that game. The dropped interceptions by the Steelers and the Dolphins getting gifts from Pickett. They were making plays on defense, so defense flying around the field, and they still did enough offensively. They had some good moments. Other teams losing. Dolphins back on track here. They'll go up 4 spots to number 12, but definitely help from other teams losing for sure. 11, the Seahawks are the biggest riser of the week. They're up 9 spots. It's crazy to see the Seahawks led by Geno Smith, led by a bunch of rookies. Up 9 spot. They're sitting at number 11. It's crazy to see, but they're playing some good football. Even when they slightly lose games, they look pretty good. Like, it's a team that I like what I'm seeing on the field. Defense, they still could give up some points, some yardage. They're getting better, though, which makes sense because they're very young. They're still adjusting. They're getting better on defense, so that's a great sign. Offensively, they can beat you with the pass. They can beat you with the run. They are tough to game plan for, deal with. They're blocking well, surprisingly well. They're well coached right now. So the Seahawks are showing some really good things to me right now. On the football field, a dominant win against the Chargers can do you wonders. Up 9 spots to number 11. It's good to see. Number 10, Ravens up 2 spots. I mean, not the prettiest game. The defense is getting better. That's what I like. The defense is getting better. Gus Edwards had a game. They kind of tried to choke the game, though, once again in the end, but they held on. The defense is getting better. And we saw it. We knew they made the adjustments in the offseason. I talked about it all offseason. What they were doing. And it looked questionable at first, but I was like, kind of give it time here, and they're getting it together on defense. So I love to see that. Offensively, Lamar hasn't been playing that well. It doesn't help that the receivers are getting like no separation. And then Justice Hill fumble was when they kind of were going to close out the game. It was pretty tough, but yeah, they find a way to win, which is good because they haven't been able to find a way to hold on. They did. They should have found an easier way to win this one, but up 2 spots to number 10. Number 9, the Bengals are starting to heat up. They're up 4 spots to 9. I know we always have the crowd in the comments that say, well, the Ravens beat the Bengals, so they should be ahead of them. Again, we're through 7 weeks. There's a lot more teams in the Bengals and the Ravens. There's a lot more games that have been played than just the Bengals and the Ravens. The Bengals are playing better football, playing simple on the field right now. So just answering those people in the comments, because I see it every week. It drives me nuts. I kind of stop responding to them. It's just, why do you think there was one game played on the year, But the Bengals are starting to look a lot better. It's 2 games they should win, Saints and Falcons, 2 favorable matchups going against heavy man coverage defenses who were both beat up at corner, but they still go out and execute. Joe Burrow's playing a lot better. Those weapons are playing a lot better, and they have a solid defense as well. So they're heading in the right direction. This is a bigger game against the Browns. This week, bigger than the Falcons and bigger than the Saints, not just because they're in the same division. That's a big piece of it. Not just to kind of keep this alive, but it's a test. It's a little bit different it's a different matchup. Just matchup, regardless of the team, than the Falcons and the Saints. So if they go out there on Monday Night Football and do what they've been doing, it's going to look pretty damn impressive. Most people would look at it and be like, yeah, the Browns are struggling. They have 2 wins. It's not that impressive, but I go deeper than that, So keep the streak alive. Play, see what they can do against more of a zone team that has a stud pass rusher, Myles Garrett, pretty good pass rush overall. So this could be actually, believe it or not, it could be a statement game here for the Cincinnati Bengals or the Cleveland Browns. So it could boost them. They're up 4 spots, number 9. Not much change in the top 8. Actually, one thing different. I have the Jets staying put at 8. They're finding ways to win. They're winning football games. It's why they're in the top tier of teams here, the top column, I should say, in the top 8. Defense is playing some really good football. Pretty sloppy on offense. Didn't help they lost their best playmaker and best offensive lineman in that game. But yeah, defense kind of holds, takes control here, wins the game. Wasn't the prettiest thing in the world. Maybe they're fortunate Russ was out. But again, the Jets had key guys out. The Broncos may be fortunate those guys were out. But yeah, they stay up in the top 8 because they continue to win football games. Didn't really see the reason to move them up, though, which is the case for a lot of these teams. But the Titans are up 3 spots, number 7. Yeah, first glance, the Titans didn't score an offense touchdown in that game, but they're on a 4-game winning streak right now. Their defense is playing ridiculous, as good as anyone in football. It looks like that defense at the end of last year, I was calling them maybe the best defense in football. And then going into this year, I was predicting them to have a really good defense. I'm like, why is no one else predicting them to have a really good defense? They not remember what they did at the end of last year, and they started off really bad on defense. I was like, oh God, they're really missing Harold Landry. Some of these injuries are killing them. They don't look too good. But all of a sudden, even with the injuries still, they are looking ridiculous. They're stopping and running at an incredibly high level. They're getting good pressure. They're making plays in the secondary, getting their hands on the ball. So, and they're on a big winning streak here, which is huge when it comes to power rankings. So the Titans have been very impressive recently. They really every week more and more like the Titans of the last couple of years. So they're up 3 spots, number 7. 6, the Giants are going to stay put. Another win. They keep winning ball games, kind of like the Jets. So that's why they're up here in the top 6, in the top column of teams here. I wish if they would have went out and just dominated the Jags or played the whole game like they finished, the way they finished that game, I suppose, then it would probably been difficult to not move them up. Same thing with the Jets. Like if the Jets dominated the Broncos, it would probably been difficult not to move them up. The Giants, it wasn't the best game from the Giants. They won. That's why they're in the top 6. I think they got outplayed by the Jags for majority of that game. Defense, they were surrendering a lot of yards in that game. Offense, really what stood out was towards the end of the game, Barkley and Danny Dimes using their legs, dominating on the ground actually, and then dominating the clock in possession at the end, which ultimately kind of won them this game. But yeah, that kind of was just a very small portion at the end of the game. So yeah, they continue to win though. They've been way better than expected. They are number 6 still here. Just crazy to see the Jets and Giants, 6 and 8, Giants and Jets there. So they continue to impress overall on the season. 5, Cowboys going to stay put at 5. They're a little sloppy early. It's a little slow, I should say, not sloppy. Early in this game against the Lions, it was a little closer than the score showed, but their defense continues to look like the very best in football, which is huge, obviously. Which the offense kind of clicked at the end, but now they probably can get going with Dak in there a little bit. Didn't really feel the need to move anything around here. 2 lost Cowboys still sitting at 5. Vikings had a bye, still sitting at 4. I was definitely open to, if the Cowboys went and completely dominated them, they could have moved ahead. If the Giants, dominated or outplayed the Jags, definitely could have moved ahead up at 4. Maybe a team like the Jets as well. I just don't know if they showed enough on the field to make was a big movement that necessary. Usually there's not much movement in the top tier of teams at this time of the year for my power rankings. But Vikings sitting at 4. They'll play the Cardinals this week. I think that's a pretty good game. And then number 3 is going to be the Chiefs. Good win against the 49ers there, putting up 44 points, so super impressive. The Chiefs are number 1 worthy. There's just 3 teams that are number 1 worthy. The Bills at 2 who had a bye, but it helps for the Bills. They're fresh off beating the Chiefs. Like I said, head-to-head isn't everything, doesn't mean something, but when, like I said, there's 3 teams that feel number 1 worthy, you kind of really look at, head-to-head could matter and something like that, where there's not anything splitting them up. So that really is the difference between these 2 teams, which is not much of a difference. But the Eagles, who were also on a bye, we had some good teams on a bye this week. Only undefeated team in football. You just look at the rest of the NFL. Anything can happen. It's kind of how it always been any given Sunday, but especially this year, anything can happen. No one's safe. It's impossible to stay consistent. It's impossible to win, put together a winning streak. Eagles are undefeated. They continue to look very, very good on both sides of the ball, even though we didn't get to see them this past week. So there was absolutely no reason to move them down for 1. No reason at all. No thought. So, there you have it. So some good games coming up this week. We thought the Bills-Packers would have been a really good game. We'll see. That'll be a this year thing that the Packers win that game somehow. But yeah, I think Bengals-Browns is a big game. I think Vikings-Cardinals going to be really close. I think that's a good game as well. Who knows? The Bears might have figured out something last week. They play the Cowboys this week. I think Giants-Seahawks probably the game of the week. Giants-Seahawks. That's a really good game. 6 versus 11. Jets-Patriots, really good game. So, I mean, we got some good games here. Rams-Niners, that's actually 14 versus 15. I think the Colts versus the Commanders, that'll be Ellinger versus Heineke. That could be a pretty good game. That's a intriguing one, I suppose. We'll see if the Bucks can figure it out on Thursday night. They play the Ravens. That could be solid. So I think Raiders-Saints, another good game. There's always good games. There's always some good ones here. Broncos-Jags, I mean, it's a must-win. Whoever wins that game is like, all right, there's some hope. Whoever loses that game, it's kind of, we're running out of hope here, so we'll see. Maybe the Panthers can get things rolling. They play the division rival Falcons this week, so we'll see. But we're back every Tuesday morning with these power rankings. Hopefully you can join us. Tuesday night weekly picks. Score predictions Wednesday. We have trade deadline videos coming out because that's right around the corner. Really excited about that. Trades already going down. Usually teams wait to the last second, but they're already going down. So good to see. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.